Some things are better left unsaid. Take it from me, some things are better left unsaid.
Hello, welcome to Unspoken, episode 15. Thank you for joining us again, and it's great to have you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your comments. It's always good to get feedback from our listeners. Today's topic is conspiracy theories and Christianity. We're just going to chat a bit about conspiracy theories and really just open it up to discussion. John, conspiracy theories. Some people call it, or some people say they're conspiracy theorists. Other people say they're alt thinkers. Other people think they just put up different names on it. What are your thoughts on conspiracy theorists?
Yeah, so I enjoy people who try to think differently and don't want to be sheep and kind of just follow the crowd. I do understand why people are like, oh no, another conspiracy theory. This is just stupid. People are kind of saying why are you trying to cause waves, or why are you bringing in another idea, and can get very irritated at that concept of just come on and calm down now. It's not everybody is trying to get you. But yeah, as I say, I think there is definitely great thoughts and decisions and stuff, or a way that person can think towards what are people's agendas, what are people trying to do in this world. I don't think we should be buying into every conspiracy theory or buying into things, but people have agendas. People have selfish ambition, selfish gain. So, it's a bit of a love-hate relationship to conspiracy theories, and in some ways irritated as well that if any of these exist, then it's just a sad world that we could be living in some cases.
But do you think in this day and age of social media and so much information out there, a lot more than it used to be, that people who think differently to the mainstream should still be called conspiracy theories? Is the term conspiracy theory, should that not be left back in the past? Now it should just be a person thinking differently. I mean, there's lots of, to use gender, for instance, there's now lots of you're not now apparently not just male and female. There are a wide array of different things you can consider yourself. So surely if people can think differently in that area and not really be labeled, or not allowed to be labeled, not allowed to be thought negatively of, then shouldn't conspiracy theory just be put out the window? Shouldn't that just be, well, that's just a different way of thinking, or it's a different view? It's just somebody thinking differently to everybody else.
Yeah, I think if you make it a religion, and then it becomes a taboo subject, and you just let people think what you want. But I think it's based on society, right? Society had determined that some things are okay to think or to choose. But if you conspiracy theorists, I think people are still against that because you are against the social happiness or against the social current. People don't want to cause issue and cause fuss. I think that's one of the, especially in the first world, if you're starting to cause a row or starting to cause a riot or starting to put up against society, and then it's an issue. So same with if I disagree with the gender thing, then I shouldn't say too much because it's a disagreement. So it's the same as conspiracy. If the government is telling you one thing and the media is telling you one thing, and then you all of a sudden want to go against them, you're causing an issue. So I like the point of what you're making, though. I really like it. It should be free to discuss and to be open, and it shouldn't be biased. But the bias comes in where the level of society says, no, that is the level that we allowed you to be different and to express yourself. But as soon as you cross that level, then whatever that line is, and depending in different areas, and then you're crazy. Then you're crazy. So it's not just the crazy guy, in that is like raising their fist. Oh, this is the government. Is this? It's now very accessible, and people can like shoot you down faster in the same way as you can find out the information.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially now with COVID-19, it's the conspiracies seem to be thick and fast. At the moment, I saw one this week where a video is going around of a lady who's quite high in her field. She says, she's been on Oprah a few times and XYZ, and she's now mentioning about the vaccine that's coming out in the future. Well, ironically, the future is basically now. Actually, today here in Bournemouth, they trialed the first day of the trial of the vaccine over here. But anyway, she's saying XYZ, Bill Gates Foundation. She's saying a lot of things, and people who have been listening to alternative media or have been listening to other theories, conspiracy theories, whatever, they'll know they'll probably seen the video or they've heard of things that she's mentioned about. She talks about nanotechnology, just various things. A couple of people have said, well, she's a gynecologist. She's not a virologist, so she doesn't really know what she's talking about. So they really picked holes in her argument. But that's just one case. There's obviously a case when people mentioning certain different medications that are out already and saying there is already a cure. That the fact that there's not saying a cure. People are saying that that it's not as bad, the virus is not as bad as the governments are making out. There's a lot of alternative thinking to what the media is putting out there. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult.
I'll put it to you then. I think what there's Bill Gates. I think what maybe conspiracy theories come down to, right, is trust in a person's desire or goal. Last week we were talking about great leaders and stuff like that, and we discussed that some part of being making a great leader is what are you trying to achieve. And so with this Bill Gates and the vaccine, perhaps the question is he trying to help society? Is he trying to help people with the cure? If his desire we can trust 100%, he just wants to help the world, and then we have no reason for him there to be any conspiracy, right? There's no reason to like say no. So pretty much what we're attacking is his character, perhaps. It's the same with other issues. If there's another agenda in the government to be the first to do something, or to show the world a certain angle, or to I don't know, get rid of some kind of voice in the media, then that's the agenda, and so therefore we can have some weight to conspiracy theories, or to a theory that makes sense. To like, well, this is their motive, and therefore this could exist. And so I think that's what you need to be asking in this particular issue. Is what is the motives? All of a sudden Russia says, no, I've got a vaccine, and everybody's like, no, like I'm not touching it. But then the one that comes out in England or something like that, then it's okay, or in America. And I find that quite interesting, that one is being promoted and one's maybe not, being rejected just because it's the country, or because I don't know, whatever the media says, maybe.
Well, that's also a good point. Just saying, per person's character and who's actually saying what, because the biggest thing is when the evidence doesn't really add up. People that are considering themselves smart or thinkers, or not just, I don't know. When you look at something and when you're doing the sums and 2 and 2 doesn't equal 4. And you go like, why is 2 and 2? Everybody's saying 2 and 2 equals 5, and you're like, well, you don't really think so. You're thinking it's equaling 4, but everybody's saying it's 5, and you're like, well, I'm going to stick my hand up and say no, they're wrong. And then like, well, no, you're a conspiracy theorist because now you're thinking differently. Well, maybe made a bad example. What I'd like to use an example is if we had to go back a couple of 100 years or maybe thousands, let's say hundreds, and when the first people believed that the Earth was flat, and they were sailing, and everybody, as far as well, I wasn't there, so I don't know if it was everybody, but as far as I know, that's what was the common social norm belief was that the world was flat. The maps were drawn showing ends of the earth. You know, if you go this far, you're going to fall off. I'm pretty sure children were told, you know, maybe even in school, was saying, listen, end of the earth, you fall off, you know, be careful. Until some guy just said, no, actually, I think it's round. You know, I'm guessing because, as I say, I wasn't there, but I'm assuming that he must have been called conspiracy theorist or a crazy man. And what's this rubbish? You know, you're talking, you know, crazy stuff. And you know, if social media and Twitter and everything was back then, they probably would have blocked him and said, "This guy's, you know, this guy's an idiot. You know, nobody follow him because he doesn't know what he's talking about." You know, until either more and more people realized, wait a minute, actually he's talking the truth. Or I mean, what do? You can't come back with evidence back then, can you? You know.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. So the flat earthers, the general norm is that you have to have a flat plane so to be actually standing on the earth, right? So that makes sense in terms an old school where gravity is not necessarily proven, or understanding that how is it possible in my mind that I am actually standing, and the only way that it's possible is that I'm not at an angle, tilted away, you know, and therefore it makes more logical sense for me to be on a flat surface plane of some kind. And so yes, when a person comes out in the contrary to that and saying, no, there's a curve. Look at the horizon. There's a curve there. I don't know on a flat Earth. How does that work? And then yes, I agree with you. I agree. It's he couldn't prove it. So it's not like he can prove. You know, he can't tell you that no, I don't. That flat curve is more. You know, it's not like a scientist that I can drop something in there and like, look, I can prove this. So it is. He would have been caught crazy probably, and people still think the Earth is flat, and now we can maybe call them crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the same. Even let's say Charles Darwin. You know, when he came up with his Big Bang theory, you know, I suppose, I guess, I wasn't there, but I'm supposing at that stage of history, everybody believed in creation, or majority probably believed in Christianity creation, and this is how it was. And he came with a theory saying, this is actually how I think it happened, or what my proof says it. You know, I'm sure at that time he had the same issue of people thinking, oh, that's rubbish. You know, a few people would have believed him, yes, yes, we were actually waiting for a different solution, or we did think there was something else. So what I'm saying is there's always a pioneer of thought, of a front runner, you know, a scout, if you can put it that way. Back in the days when people were exploring Earth and countries, and you know, there would be that Christopher Columbus Day a few days ago there, or a few weeks ago in America. You know, he was the first guy, well, first Western person to set foot on America, but he had to do it. Somebody had to go and do it and actually say, you know, and then he went back and said X, Y, Z, and people are like, okay, well, maybe not. I don't believe you. Okay, there's some proof. Well, okay, yeah, you know, I think, you know, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater necessarily with conspiracy theories. I think, you know, everybody has to think of what they believe. You know, you have to test the information. You know, if you come to me, you know.
I think that that example is not equal, because the problem is with Christopher Columbus is that he can make a theory and say there's other lands out there, and then he goes and tests that and then comes back with, yes, there's a land. So as opposed to conspiracy theories that can't exactly be proven, and the same with the Big Bang theory. I don't believe that theory is correct. But the problem is the reason why it's a theory is because it can never actually be shown to be 100% accurate. And that's the problem with conspiracies, is that they can't be proven to be accurately 100% right. And until they are, then there's always a theory, right? And so the ones that pretty much people struggle with is the fact that we say, no, this is not correct, and then we can just believe that. There's no way, like if it's a cover up from a government, the chances of getting the proof is extremely low. Or if it's a cover up from a company, or if it's a cover up, so that I think is the difference between people as wild, like an apple falls from the tree and we say it's gravity, like, well, there's other things, we're standing here, or whatever the case is. So the difference is between is being able to prove something means that it doesn't become a conspiracy anymore, because I can show, hey, look society, XYZ shows you that this is true, and that could happen for the future for some things.
Let's talk a bit about the Christianity aspect within conspiracy theories. And I've come across people seeing a lot of, what's the word? I don't want to say devil behind every bush type of thing. I don't even know if that's an English expression, but for instance, Monster Energy drink. There's a big theory. There's a YouTube video if anybody wants to go YouTube it. There's a whole video on how it's satanistic, and that even the logo's lines are actually mean 666 in Arabic or something like that, and on it says unleash a beast, and basically they're saying this whole Monster corporation is satanic because of the branding of the drink. That's the one example. There's a lot of end time conspiracies. People that don't know about the end, what we mean about the end time, it's the book of Revelations in the Bible refers to the end time, basically the end of the world. My thought, and let's discuss this, but my thought is that Christians don't want to be caught unaware or off guard. So I think they're kind of looking for things, or kind of keep trying to be vigilant in a way, but then also trying to, you know what I mean? It's almost like the best defense is offense. So they're going around saying, "Are you the bad guy? Are you the bad guy?" Like you're talking about your game, where you have to ask the guy, are you the bad guy? Are you the bad guy?
Yeah.
And I think, would you agree that that's maybe what the Christians are doing? Why a lot of Christians are involved in conspiracy theories?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a mandate from Christianity. Firstly, some people would say that Christianity as a whole thing is conspiracy theory. Because it's a religion created to, suppress a whole bunch of people's thinking, or to control people's thinking, which I guess in some cases conspiracy theories want to do. But I do think there is the Bible says to make sure that your lamps are full of oil, and ready for the time when Christ comes back. And so there is a definitely a bit more of a watchful eye out for things that can cause damage. Also, you want to raise your children in a certain way, right? And part of that is that you don't want them to be influenced by the world's negative message, because man, there's a dark world out there. There are some things that in cartoons that are like super strange. There are things that are messages, subliminal messages in marketing and all sorts. So there is stuff out there, but it does come with the flip side of the coin that you can push it too far, right? So could there be something in Monster that sends a message, or there's something like it? Yes, and if you feel that way, then okay, don't drink it. But it doesn't mean that your next fellow Christian can't drink it. There's there's definitely scripture verses in Romans that discuss that about do not cause your fellow person to stumble. And so if a person amongst me says a Monster is bad for Christians, then I won't drink a Monster in front of them. Mm-hmm. But in a similar way, not everything is a conspiracy theory. Mm-hmm. But do you think there's a higher number of Christians trying to think out of the box, trying not to get caught by the fear or the agenda of a dark world? So yes, there definitely is a Christian level. Josh, do you think that that it's okay for Christians to be? I feel like it's fear. I think some of the driving force is fear of this part. Do you think conspiracy theory is linked to fear and not wanting to follow? And is that Christian?
Yeah, good question. Good question. I think it depends what theory person is talking about. There's a long list of conspiracy theories out there at the moment. Chemtrails. People who don't know what that is chemical trails. People believe that that some Boeings or some airplanes, when they fly, they release gases into the atmosphere that either controls weather or they're just trying to get rid of toxic stuff. When you see those lines through the sky, they call those chemtrails. That's a conspiracy. People believe that the moon landing didn't happen. People believe that 9/11 didn't quite go down as what they advertised. There's a lot of theories. People believe a couple of things on the mark of the beast. So there's a lot of theories out there. And I think depending on which one, which road people are going down with, obviously, I don't think there's fear. If somebody starts thinking, okay, well, the moon landing didn't happen, I don't think that's fear. I think that's them. I think that's them trying to look at the evidence which is being presented to them and actually make up their own minds and think, okay, in that case, I think, okay, well, no, they don't think so. But yes, I definitely do think that there's an element of fear when it comes to certain things. But I think it stems off a belief of what might happen or what is foretold to happen. So, for instance, if my children, they'll be afraid to do something that I've told them past or punished them in the past that they've done, so they'll make sure they don't do that or they don't make a mistake or something. Well, not a mistake, but whatever the case. So they will have a slight element of fear because they know that if that happens, there's a certain consequence. So I think Christians, especially, they believe in the Bible with the mark of the beast. The Bible says, if you take the mark, then you won't enter the kingdom of heaven, or you won't basically go to heaven. And that's big. For a Christian, that's like, that's kind of like it's like the whole. That's the only. Well, I want to say the only perk, but that's like the biggest perk of being a Christian. And I think they're very scared to take it or whatever it is. If we don't know what it is, or nobody knows, and I think it's not going to walk around with a big sign saying this is the mark of the beast. Christians don't take this.
So what do you think then is the positives for Christians to be a bit more on this conspiracy theory side, or a normal person? Are they, is it just a waste of time? Is it just taking up some part of your brain that you could be using for others? Or, why, when a person says, oh, not another conspiracy theory, should he be proud of that? Or, give me some positives from a Christian perspective or not that, yeah, it's worth it.
No, I think we should be vigilant. I think we should question the information we receive. In this day and age, there's so much fake news. There's so much anybody can say anything. I can go on and we could say things here, and if we had enough, people following us, then we could actually people could believe us, and um, so we have to really screen. We have to really test a lot of the information that we're receiving, and I think what we should do is we should look at something, be vigilant, and if we smell a rat or if we feel like this is something we might be cautious, we need to pray about it. We need to pray about it. We need to ask God for guidance, and we need to lay it to rest. I don't think there's any point in harboring, concentrating, 24/7 thinking about it and worrying about it and stressing about it, and because that's also against what God's saying. He says He didn't give us a spirit of fear. So I think forewarned. What's the expression? Forewarned is forearmed. So I think there's a yes, there's a benefit to think there's possibly something might happen. Prepare yourself, as much as you can without disrupting your life, and then continue on with your life, and we'll just wait till something happens. It's like there's people that believe a zombie apocalypse is going to happen, and I don't know. Maybe I don't think anybody could have foretold COVID, so maybe it could happen. Is there anything I can do about it now? No. I live in the UK, so I can't even buy guns. But what I'm saying is, if there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do about it. So I'm not going to lie awake at night worrying about zombies.
Well, some people have a go bag, have supplies packed in the bottom of their thing to make sure that if apocalypse happens, they will have an escape. So that's not possible.
That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I think a go bag in any sense is a great idea. When my wife was pregnant with our two kids, and I had a go bag, some sweeties, some hydration, some music. You have things in time of when something's going to happen. So if you ever go, it's nothing wrong with it. It's being prepared. But I wouldn't go hide in the bunker now. I wouldn't go climb in my bunker now just in case something might happen in the next whenever. But I do think that it's a smart idea to be prepared for anything. Whether it's going to rain tomorrow, I'm going to be prepared. I'll take my raincoat or my umbrella. But if it doesn't rain, I'm not going to keep my raincoat on all day.
Yeah. I think there's two things for me that I wanted to mention. Like, one, for Christians, there's definitely a timing of in Revelations of to like Antichrist and to the mark of the beast and that. And so people are definitely interested in the mark of the beast and that type of thing. Definitely encourage them to go and study the timings of Revelations. There's a few markers that need to happen. And there's debate about some of the markers happening already or not. But I think in terms of worrying about that type of stuff, it's there's definitely some timings that you can look into, and then maybe get worried if something flashes up that's one of the markers. But also, I think another issue is who is controlling the narrative in media. You mentioned like there's so much false information and stuff like that, and I do worry when something like 9/11 happens and people are like not sure who said what when things were happening. Timing, one of the issues is that can people arrange to kill so many people, and then we just prove that either it's the government that you trust, or it's the people that that they're blaming. And so you put it on the people that you don't like or something like that. But I think there is wisdom in looking at things with the open not just your own glasses, own things on. Currently, Facebook and YouTube have the power on their website to take things down. Recently in New Zealand, yesterday afternoon, a campaign in New Zealand got taken down on Facebook, and it's 2 days out from the final election. And the people were up in uproar. They say Facebook gave them some warnings and say this is not correct about COVID or things like that. And they shoot it down, but Facebook took it off. And then also we believe that, YouTube or someone was trying to take down our comments. We were on the LGBTQ discussion. We thought about what we wanted to say and reply back to one of the comments, and our comments didn't show up. It didn't, or were taken down. And so I struggle with what to believe, or how to say, that if people are talking positively, like for this video, perhaps maybe some official doesn't like what we've said, and then they can take it down. And I struggle with that. I struggle with, how do you, even if we are being vigilant, who's controlling what we hear and what is said, and how do we know where to turn? Like the Bible one is easy, but in the government or in the world.
It's interesting. Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, exactly. The fact that somebody's out there making decisions that take things out of our hands, even at this level, in looking at it now, where you said there, Facebook took things off. I mean, that is basic. That's the things we can see. I mean, surely that can make people think then that there's a possibility that that happen. The same thing happened at a larger level. If Facebook, which is a business, controls, so it's a possibility. People that think that, I could see why they think that. It's a tough one, because it is. I mean, somebody made a comment. It was about a week ago, or in this week actually. The World Health Organization, they came out and they said now that they don't believe lockdown should happen. They think lockdowns is actually a bad idea. Which now, obviously, that's now after the whole world is locked down and all their countries after. So it's easy for them to say it now. Oh, actually, that's not a good idea, So somebody commented on Twitter, was saying, was very interesting. Will Facebook now take down anybody talking about lockdown? Because originally they said they'll take down anything that contradicts the World Health Organization's recommendations towards COVID-19. So they were saying now that the WHO has changed, U-turned on what they said. Is Facebook going to take down everybody that's saying that we should lock down? Which is a valid question, because that's,
contradictory.
Yes, they've drawn their line in the sand. They've said, this is what we're doing. We're going to go with the evidence that the WHO is saying, and this is what we're going to say. So if it's against that, we'll take down your post, we'll take down your group, we'll block it, we'll censor it. But now they're not. So basically now they're being hypocritical on this, this exact thing which they were trying to uphold. That's not a conspiracy. Just anybody's watching this now thinking that's a conspiracy. It's literally not a conspiracy theory. That the WHO has, you can go, it's news, it's on CNN, it's on BBC, it's on all the people who normally tell the inverted commas real news. I'm only saying that because a lot of people don't believe that they are not biased. But it is. And so now, I don't know. It's different.
Yeah, it definitely is problematic. If you, Facebook can only use what information they currently have, and they go with what they believe is correct. But it just shows you that it can change. And so then you either need to adapt and change with the times, but then do you bring back all the posts that you deleted from lockdown? I think, to be honest, that's one of the things that the party that's running in New Zealand got called up for, actually, was bringing up how the opposition government treated COVID. And that was the problem what Facebook was citing, like, hey, listen, if you're talking against your government, they're like, well, we're an opposition party. We're currently running to be in the party, and so we're going to definitely raise things we disagree with that the government was saying. And so that was their problem. It was like, we're not against the government, we're just running as on our personal beliefs. And I think, I know, me personally, so it doesn't matter, it's Facebook, it's their website. We can go create our own website and not have it censored in that way. Although Facebook is such a massive platform, but it does get a bit worrying when they took a stance, they drew a line, and now it's flipped on its head, and they so they took everything away, all the rhetoric, and maybe they could have come to a better conclusion if that wasn't taken away, if the conversations like this were happening more, and then maybe the WHO could have come out with a faster solution or faster. But yeah, we need to respect some kind of decisions that people make, and if they believe that is the best for their company or for their government, then that's the case. But I also don't think we should allow people to control what we wanted to say in the same breath, So
Yeah,
it's a bit tricky.
I think it comes down to freedom of speech, and freedom of thought. I think people say there's freedom of speech, but there's not. I mean, by that pure fact that if you say certain things on Twitter or Facebook and it violates what they've said, then they take it out. So that's not free speech then, because free speech would be that anybody can say anything they want. And even if it hurts somebody or it makes somebody upset, or it's that person's prerogative as freedom of speech to do it. If they do it and they've said something really nasty, then they're not a nice person. Just block them and that's it. They're not. They're labeled. It's like back when we were at school. When we were younger in the 90s. When you said something in the playground, or you called you called somebody an ugly name or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, you're not nice. I'm not going to play with you." And that's it. They didn't play with you. That was as far as it went. But it's. I think the world is getting. I don't know. Everybody's walking on eggshells, and I think now there's just too much red tape. I think they need to go back to freedom of speech. And if a conspiracy theorist wants to believe what they believe, and they put it out there, and there's a whole bunch of other people that believe the same thing, then that's just their thing, and that's just. It goes down as that's what these people believe. I do know that I was listening to a radio show this week about conspiracy theories. Well, one's particular, and people were saying, they were talking about their loved ones and how it's actually influencing their relationship with them, and there's, to some extent, it gets pretty serious. People take their children out of school. Or it gets pretty, or they lock themselves up in their homes. It can get very serious, but that is not conspiracy theory's problem. That's the fear aspect, which we touched on earlier, and that's the difference. Fear is what confines you, what imprisons somebody. It's not whatever it is. So I think people should be left down to think and believe what they want to. If I have an alternative way of thinking and I want to tell you, I'll tell you. If you don't believe it, you can tell me to be quiet, and that's it. If I think, let's say, you shouldn't eat apples, I'm like, listen, John, you shouldn't eat apples, and that's it. If you want to eat an apple, then you eat an apple. I don't think I can take it further than that.
I have a short challenge for you just here. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I think freedom of speech it needs to be really careful. Like, countries have governments that decide we have freedom of speech, right? So within my country, I'm free to speak, and within America, they are free to speak, and within the UK, whatever, governments are lined up in a certain way. But online, it's private organizations, and so if we say, "Oh, we need a freedom of speech on a particular place," I think it's a different world. Do you not think that online, there's not a government, there's no internet government, and they never promised freedom of speech on so you're arguing, oh, there should be freedom of speech, but you do go outside on the street and shout what you want, and then in your country, but in some other countries you can't do that.
Well, no, you can't stand out here and say what you want. I mean, and it is at the moment, internet is. I mean, if I go onto Twitter and I had to go say certain things, police will rock up on my door and arrest me. They have. They've done it in New Zealand. They've done it in the UK. They've done it in America. They've done it in South Africa. What you say online is just as good as you said it out there. And if it's against what the people are saying you're allowed to say, which is a lot, then you get arrested. Well, nowadays the only thing you can be is if you're a comedian. Well, even though they are cracking down on comedians now, even, but they used to be able to get away with a lot if you're a comedian. But it is, if you look at it from today, like as if we're sitting here today, what you're allowed, what you're not allowed to say, back 5, 10, 15 years ago, what you're allowed to say, it's astonishing that they've taken it away. And I'm not saying, I mean, I don't at all condone hate speech or people inciting violence or lots of things. There's lots of things which I don't agree with what people should be saying. But I think that a person should be allowed to say it, because that's, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
If we can't, what does the world come to if I can't say something? If you want to take offense, fine, take offense. I don't know. It's a tough one, and yes, I mean, to people watching this or listening to this, we'd love to hear what you think about it. All of it. Tell us what you think, and let us know if your comment actually doesn't show. I wouldn't be surprised, but it could. What do you reckon, John? Is there something else we haven't touched on? Is there more to talk about?
No, I think it's good. I think we're encouraging people to think more openly, think broadly. We're encouraging people to find a platform where they can say what they want to say, and that people should be able to speak their mind. I would encourage them to pick their location, pick their timing. Dad used to say, pick your battles. And so, if you upset at the whole world, then maybe pick one of them that you upset the world. But no, I think we hit some good marks, and I would love to hear what people have to say about what they believe is true or not true, or what they believe the world needs to do to be able to open up free speech again.
Good. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. As always, if you have any ideas of what you'd like us to chat about, let us know as well. Put it in the comments, subscribe and share. Thanks for joining us, John.
Thank you. See you around.
See you on the flip side.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Some things are better left unsaid. Take it from me, some things are better left unsaid.